There is a ghost living in the architecture of your mind, a silent architect that has been building for years without your permission. It doesn't build with brick and stone, but with something far more fragile, with remembered slights, with promises you made to yourself in the dark. Never again, you whispered. I will never be that vulnerable again. So you built a fortress. You thought you were building a sanctuary, a place of safety. But feel the walls now. Go on. Feel them. Are they warm? Do they hum with life? Or are they cold, smooth and hard and terribly, terribly quiet? This fortress you've built, this masterpiece of self-protection, has become your prison. And the ghost, the architect, is you. The part of you that decided long ago that the only way to avoid the sting of a thorn was to never feel the touch of a petal. That to avoid the agony of a storm, you must live your entire life in a permanent windless drought. You have been trying to solve the problem of being alive by trying to become less alive. And it's exhausting, isn't it? This constant curation of your own heart, this vigilant policing of every feeling, every conversation, every risk. You've become the warden of your own inner world, and the sentence is a life sentence of solitude, of watching the magnificent, messy, glorious dance of life from behind a pane of glass. What if you heard a whisper tonight? A truly terrifying, liberating whisper, that the way out is not to build the walls higher, that the safety you crave is not found in more armor, but in the audacious, unimaginable courage to finally take it off. What if the most profound strength was not in being an impenetrable fortress, but in discovering you were never a city that could be besieged in the first place? Ah, but what a peculiar wish that is. What a strange, self-defeating dream. You see, that wish, that beautiful, desperate prayer for invulnerability, is not the path to peace. It is the very source of your suffering. It is the fortress itself that creates the feeling of siege. So let us talk about this, not as a problem to be solved, but as a dance to be understood. A rather wild, sometimes terrifying, but utterly beautiful dance between you and the great blooming, buzzing reality of existence. Imagine, if you will, that you are at a grand ball. The music is the music of life itself, a magnificent, complex symphony of joy and sorrow, meeting and parting, birth and death. And you are here to dance. But you have decided, quite firmly, that you will only dance with one particular partner, a lovely, graceful figure named pleasure. You love the way pleasure spins you around, makes you feel light and giddy. So you spend the entire evening scanning the room for pleasure, chasing after them, trying to cling to their hand. And whenever another dancer approaches, a solemn figure named sorrow, or a fierce one named anger, or a quiet, introspective one named loneliness, you turn your back, you hide in the corner, you pretend you don't see them. Now, is this a good dance? Are you enjoying the ball? Of course not. You are exhausted, frustrated, and you've missed the entire point of being there. The ball is for dancing with all the partners, because you cannot know the sweet lightness of pleasure unless you have also known the grounding weight of sorrow. You cannot feel the warm embrace of connection without understanding the cool space of loneliness. They define each other. They need each other. This is not some philosophical opinion. It is as fundamental as the physics of a wave. A wave is not just the crest. A wave is the whole movement. The rising, the peaking, the crashing, and the receding back into the ocean. To want only the crest is to not want a wave at all. It is to want a flat, dead, inert sea. And so when you say, I want to feel joy but not sadness, you are saying, I want waves but only the tops, please. I want mountains but no valleys. It can't be done. The universe doesn't deal in half measures. It gives you the full, glorious, and sometimes terrifying package. Your ability to feel profound, heart-shattering love is exactly the same capacity that allows you to feel profound, heart-shattering grief. They are two sides of the same coin. If you numb yourself to one, you numb yourself to the other. You become a spectator at the ball, watching from the shadows, too afraid to step onto the floor where the real living is happening. And so we come to a wonderful, frustrating, and ultimately liberating paradox. I call it the backwards law. The more you try to grasp something, the more it slips through your fingers. Think of your breath. You can breathe perfectly well without thinking about it, can't you? The air flows in and it flows out. It's a beautiful, effortless process. But now, try to make yourself breathe. Try to control it, to ensure that you will always have enough air. Gasp. Clutch at it. Suddenly, breathing becomes a struggle. The very effort to secure your breath is what makes you feel suffocated. This is exactly what you are doing with your emotional safety. The desperate effort to be secure, to be invulnerable, to ensure that nothing and nobody will ever hurt you again. This effort is the hurt. It is a constant low-grade panic, a clenching, a tightening. You see, when you are walking along a narrow plank on the ground, it's easy, you saunter. But if I raise that same plank 1,000 feet in the air between two skyscrapers, every muscle in your body will tense. The same physical act, but now flooded with the fear of falling. The fear is the effort to not fall. The struggle against the possibility of pain becomes the pain. This is the great trap. You are like a man who, afraid of the dark, locks himself in a tiny airless closet because it is safe. He has succeeded. Nothing from the outside can get in, but he is in a prison of his own making, and he will slowly suffocate. He has avoided the imagined dangers of the dark, only to be killed by the very safety he craved. The backwards law whispers a secret. The way to overcome the fear of falling is not to build higher railings, but to learn how to fall. The way to not be drowned by the wave is not to run from the ocean, but to learn how to swim, to float, to surrender to the current. But why does it hurt so much? Why does a word, a rejection, a failure feel like a physical blow? It is because of a story you have been told and have come to believe, the story of the separate self. You imagine that inside your head, behind your eyes, there is a kind of captain of the ship, a little you, a fragile porcelain doll that is you, and the rest of the universe is other. And this doll must be protected at all costs. It must be kept safe, admired, validated, and untouched by the messy, unpredictable world outside. So when criticism comes, it is not just words. It is an attack on the doll. When loss comes, it is not just a change in circumstances. It is a theft from the doll. Your entire life becomes a drama of this precious, vulnerable me inside being assaulted by a world that doesn't understand it. What if this is the fundamental mistake? What if the skin is not a wall separating you from the universe, but a bridge, a meeting place? What if the you that you are so frantically protecting is not a separate, fragile entity, but a temporary expression of the universe itself? Think of a whirlpool in a flowing river. It has a distinct shape, a unique form. You can point to it and say, there is a whirlpool, but is it separate from the river? Can you take it out and save it? No. Its very existence is the river flowing. When the conditions are right, the whirlpool appears. When the river moves on, the whirlpool dissolves back into the flow. It was never a thing to be saved, but an activity of the river. You are like that whirlpool, a marvelous temporary pattern in the great flowing river of existence. The universe is not something that happens to you. You are something the universe is doing. The hurt, the pain, the joy, these are not attacks on a static thing, but movements in the dynamic dance. When you believe you are the porcelain doll, every tremor is a catastrophe. But when you realize you are the entire dance, the tremors are just part of the music. You see, the problem was never the pain itself. The problem was the belief that there was a separate permanent you that could be permanently damaged. But you are not a thing, you are a process. You are an event. And just as a cloud does not regret the rain it releases, or a flame is not traumatized by turning to heat and light, you, in your deepest essence, are not damaged by the natural flow of your own experience. You are the universe, expressing itself as a human being for a little while, and the universe is a lot more resilient than a china doll. We have set the stage. We've seen that by trying to pick and choose our experiences, we reject the very dance of life. We've discovered that the struggle for security is what makes us feel insecure. And we've begun to question the very existence of the separate, vulnerable self that feels it needs protecting. This is where we must pause, not with an answer, but with an invitation to consider a radical, perhaps terrifying, but ultimately liberating possibility, that the way to be unhurt is not to build a fortress, but to realize you were never a city to be besieged. You are the open sky. So here we are, we've seen the trap. We've seen how the desperate wish to be unhurtable builds the very walls of our own prison. We've questioned the solidity of the lonely, separate self, the China doll, that feels it needs such desperate protection. But understanding is one thing, living is another. You can agree that the sky is vast, but if you spend your life in a basement, it remains a theory. The question now is not what to think, but how to live. How do you step out of the basement? How do you stop being the besieged city and start being the open sky? It begins with a simple yet profound shift in attention, a change in the very seat of your consciousness. Imagine your mind is a room. For your entire life, you have been standing in the very center of this room, completely identified with every thought, every feeling, every storm that blows through. When anger appears, you become anger. When fear arrives, you are fear. You are tossed and turned by the weather of your own soul. Now, I'd like you to try a little experiment. Don't try to stop the weather. Don't try to change it. Just take a step back. In your imagination, walk over to the window of this room and sit down, and now simply watch the weather. Look, here comes a cloud of anxiety. You see it forming on the horizon. Instead of screaming, "Oh no, anxiety, I have to get rid of it," you simply note it. Ah, there is anxiety. It has its own texture, its own color. It may even bring a little rain, but you are not in the rain. You are watching it from the window. Here comes a gust of remembered embarrassment. It rattles the window pane. Instead of becoming the rattling, you feel the vibration and think, "My, what a powerful gust." You don't deny it. You don't fight it. You acknowledge its presence, its force, and you let it pass through. This is the birth of what we might call the witness. It is not a new thing you create. It is the fundamental awareness that was always there, the screen upon which the movie of your life is projected. You are not the frantic characters on the screen. You are the vast, silent space that holds the entire picture. When you rest as this witness, a miraculous thing happens. The thought, "I am hurt," arises, and you can see it for what it is, a thought, a passing cloud. The feeling of devastation arises, and you can feel its full, fiery intensity without being completely consumed by it. Because a part of you knows, this is a feeling, it is happening, and I am the awareness of it happening. This does not numb you. On the contrary, it allows you to feel more fully, because you are no longer afraid of being annihilated by the feeling. You can let sorrow wash through you like a deep cello note, because you are not just the note, you are also the silence that contains the music. This watching is not a passive resignation. It is an active, dynamic, and deeply courageous state, the state of total allowing. It is what I call the muddy water principle. If you have a glass of muddy water and you want it to be clear, what do? You don't stick your hand in and try to claw the mud out. The more you agitate it, the murkier it becomes. No, you set it down. You leave it alone. You allow it to be exactly as it is, muddy, and in that profound, non-interfering allowance, the sediment, all by itself, settles. The water becomes clear. Your mind is the same. Your emotional body is the same. Your frantic efforts to fix yourself, to heal yourself, to purify yourself of negative emotions, this is you sticking your hand in the water. I shouldn't feel this anger, agitation. I must be more loving. More agitation. The path to clarity is through a radical, almost outrageous acceptance of the mud. When anger arises, instead of saying, I must not be angry, you can say, so this is what anger feels like in my body. How interesting. When fear arises, you can greet it. Hello, fear. You are a part of this experience too. Come in. Sit down. I will not fight you. This is not being weak. This is the ultimate strength. It is the strength of the earth that allows everything to grow upon it, the beautiful flowers and the rotting logs. It is the strength of the sky that has room for every kind of weather. By allowing the so-called negative emotions to be, you rob them of their negative power. They are no longer enemies to be fought. They are just visitors, aspects of the ever-changing human experience. They come, and if you do not cling to them, they will go. This is the great alchemy. What you allow transforms. What you resist persists. But wait, you might say, if I just allow everything, won't I become a passive lump, a doormat for the world? If I allow my anger, won't I just explode? If I allow my fear, won't I never leave my house? This is the final beautiful twist. When you are no longer identified with the emotion, you are free to respond to it with intelligence, rather than being compelled to react from it blindly. Think of a master archer. The novice is filled with tension. He grips the bow tightly, squints with effort, strains every muscle. He is trying to make the shot happen. His effort is his obstacle. The master, however, is relaxed. He has practiced until the art is in his bones. He draws the bow, but there is no strain. He allows the arrow to fly. The action is effortless, and therefore perfectly accurate. Your emotions are the same. When you are the witness, you see anger arise, you allow it to be there. Because you are not possessed by it, you can now ask, what is this anger telling me? Is there a boundary that needs to be set? An injustice that needs addressing? And then from a place of clarity, you can act. Not as a raging tantrum, but as a precise, powerful, and appropriate response. This is action born of non-action. What the ancient Chinese sages called Wu Wei. It is the action of the universe itself. The grass growing without strain, the planets turning without effort. You become a conduit for intelligent life, rather than a bundle of conditioned reactions. You will still act in the world. You will still set boundaries, create art, fall in love, and strive for things. But the frantic, desperate quality will be gone. The fear that you will be hurt by the outcome will dissolve, because your sense of self is no longer tied to the outcome. You act because it is your nature to act, as it is the sun's nature to shine. You dance because the music is playing, not because you are trying to win a trophy. So you see, we have come full circle, but on a higher level. The title of our talk was a fantasy. Nothing and nobody will ever hurt you again. We thought it was a promise of a life without storms. But the real truth, the liberated truth, is that you are not something that can be destroyed by a storm. You are that which witnesses the storm. You are the vast, open awareness in which the entire drama of life, the pleasure and the pain, the victory and the defeat, plays itself out. You are the universe, waking up to itself. And what does the universe have to fear? It contains all things. It is all things. The next time you feel that familiar sting, that old ache, I invite you to try it. Don't build a wall. Don't run for cover. Take a gentle step back. Feel the raw sensation, the heat, the tightness, the vibration, and then feel the space around that sensation. The silence that hears the thought of hurt, the awareness that holds the entire experience. In that moment, you are not a victim of life. You are life itself, experiencing its own boundless, resilient, and ever-changing nature. You are the open sky, and no cloud, no matter how dark, can truly harm you. The dance is waiting, and you are not just a dancer on the floor. You are the music, the movement, and the space in which the dance is happening. So, dance. Not to avoid falling, but because you have discovered you cannot fall, you can only fly,